Hello, everyone out there. I hope you're all having a great Tuesday so far, and I appreciate that you taking the time to come to today's Training Tuesday and listen about water repellents. My name is Heidi Rees, and I am with the Training Department, sitting here alongside Chuck Hoke, who's our National Training Manager. And we're really excited to get to today's presentation, and we hope that everyone else is too out there. Just wanted to start by going over a couple of items prior to, just so you know, everyone on the call is muted except for the people that will be speaking. I want to make sure that you guys all can hear everything clearly, and hopefully there won't be any disruptions. But still want you to be able to ask any questions that you have an interaction with us, and you can do that through the Zoom functionality using the chat feature. So anytime during the presentation, feel free to put your questions in there, or if you want to make a comment, and I can read all of that at the very end for our presenter, and then get the questions and answers going at that time. So as a reminder, each of our webinars are recorded and then placed on the Dayton Superior YouTube channel, as well as our DaytonSuperior.com. On that website, just search on Training Tuesdays, and you'll find both the sign-up link as well as all of the past trainings. So just to let you know, this presentation is intended for training purposes only. Any kind of technical specifications or safety measures for the products that we mention in this training, please refer to DaytonSuperior.com, and you can find all of that information there, among other things that we'll discuss later. So just for those of you out there, who is Dayton Superior, in case you don't know? We are the leading provider of engineered solutions for the concrete construction industry. We specialize in accessories, chemicals that we're going to be talking about today, forming, engineering, and of course, training. We're so excited that we can offer you these insightful, brief, to-the-point trainings. But I also want to let you know that we have Simon's Forming Shoring, concrete repair and restoration products, bridge deck, rebar splicing, precast, and tilt-up construction. We have chemical solutions that are specifically formulated to meet the design specifications for both new and existing concrete projects. Simon's Forming and Shoring is very adaptable. It's strong and saves labor costs. So if you need anything like that, just contact your sales representative. And along with all of that, we have the largest, most experienced engineering and sales team in the industry. And we hope that you will use them to answer your questions. We have technical service resources for you. We're actually going to have one on the call. He is our presenter. So let's get to today's topic. What are we talking about? We're going to be talking about Water Repellent 101. And with us today is Nathan Gooch. He is our technical service specialist. If you were on the call last Tuesday, you heard from Matthew Carter. Those two guys work together and they know their stuff with chemicals. We're really excited to have Nathan this week. This is one of his first presentations, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table. So let's talk a little bit about Nathan. He started out in the construction industry right out of high school. He worked handling Simon's forms and then later transitioned to the Air Force. He did that for like 10 years and then moved on as an IT specialist role, using all of those job knowledge that he got in both of those jobs, and he used it to fix computers within the Caterpillar company system in the manufacturing facility. He then came to Dayton Superior and worked mainly on the bridge decks and epoxy overlays, and now is a very integral part in our chemical trainings. He works extremely well with our sales team and customers to troubleshoot the chemical issues, as well as aiding anybody who requires chemical specification assistance for the projects. Again, I keep boasting DaytonSuperior.com, but that's out there as well. So with that, Nathan, talk to us about water repellents.
Thank you for the introduction, Heidi. I'm trying to advance a slide here. Hang on. So today, first of all, welcome everybody welcome to everybody attending today. I'll be talking about the water repellents. I'm going to be talking about two basic types, the silanes and siloxanes, how they perform differently, where they can be used, and selection considerations. First, we can talk about the different types. So first, I'll go into barrier styles. These are going to be more like your epoxy coatings or acrylics. They get applied to the surface and they adhere to the surface. They don't really penetrate into the concrete. They do a very good job of keeping water moisture from getting into the surface, but they have a little bit of a drawback as some of them also will not allow moisture to evaporate up through the concrete, and that can cause issues during freeze thaw or have delaminations and spalling, stuff like that. Next, we can talk about pore blockers. These are going to be more of your linseed oils and maybe some soy-based products. You apply these by spraying them on, and you can back roll them to even them out. They are an oil though, so they will darken. They tend to darken the concrete, and if you over apply them, they can make the surface slick. Or if the rain gets on it, it can have that oily sheen to it. We took a call. A church out west had done their whole parking lot and sidewalks with it, and as soon as it rained, somebody walked out on it and slipped and fell. So they called us, of course, and we had to talk to them and got pictures, and concluded it had been way over applied, so they had to go out and do some mitigating cleanup. And then what we're talking about today is water repellents, actual water repellents. These are your silanes and siloxanes. There are some other technologies out there, but I'm going to be talking about silanes and siloxanes. They are microscopic in nature. You're not going to see them. They don't leave a surface film. They soak into the pores and line the walls of those pores. And the best thing about them is they allow that concrete to still breathe. They're not going to trap any moisture in there like a barrier type. And so, two types, silanes and siloxanes. In order for a silane to work, it must be applied to something that has some alkalinity to it, like concrete or mortar or grout, something cementitious. Siloxanes, they only need moisture and carbon dioxide to react. The silane molecule, when we get down to the molecular level, they're much, much smaller. They penetrate farther into the concrete, and silane or siloxanes just kind of fill up and they're more at the near surface. As you can see by the picture there, that was a test that my colleague and I did here in Tech Services. We took some Recrete 20-minute. It's one of our higher end repair mortars. It gets about 6,000 plus PSI, so it's pretty dense. And we applied our J29, which is a 40% silane solution, to the surface on the one on the left. And on the picture on the right, we applied the J26WB, which is our siloxane. And then we put some food coloring and some water and soaked both of those, or submerged both of those pieces, pulled them out, let them dry. And on the left side up at the top, right underneath the lip of the tape measure there, you can almost see it's pale up there, and there's a pretty good line of across there where you can see the difference between it's dark down below and light up top. So that silane soaked in maybe about 1/8 of an inch there, maybe 1/16. And then on the right side is the siloxane. It's not going to soak in there as far, but if you were looking at it up close, you could really see there's a white line right at the crust of or right at the very top of that slab. And they both work great. Afterwards, we let them dry out. We applied more water. It beaded. The difference is silanes, they have more of a pooling effect of the water on the surface. You apply it, you put water on it, and it's kind of puddle up or kind of just sit there in a kind of a blob. Siloxanes, you squirt it on there, and it's going to have that beading effect where you can roll those water beads around on there if you tipped it from side to side. It's pretty neat. Like I said, silanes, they're primarily used on surfaces with alkalinity in them, concrete, mortars, grouts, usually with not as porous. That's what the siloxanes are for. Siloxanes are for your super porous or just more porous, older concrete, brick, stone, natural stone. We see it used quite a bit on flagstone and walkways that are any kind of stone, really. And that picture right there is a good example. That's going to be a siloxane that's on there. It's a rougher surface. It's older concrete. It's probably a little more dry, a little more porous. And you put a siloxane on there, and you can really see how that water is really beaded up on there. If you were to blow on that, they would blow right off. When you're going to apply it, either one, you want your concrete or your substrate to be clean, dry, and absorptive. If it's not any one of those things, when you apply your SILANE or siloxane, if you got oil or debris or anything on there, your product's going to not want to penetrate. It's going to sit on the surface, and it's going to react on the surface. When that happens, it will generally turn a whitish color, and then you get to have fun scrubbing it off. And it can be scrubbed off with some hot water and a lot of elbow grease. Some benefits. Well, water is one of the most destructive forces on Earth. So having a water repellent on there, of course, it'll repel any water. But that also helps, especially if you're in a freeze-thaw area. You've got snow melting during the day and then freezing at night. If you have a water repellent on there, it's not going to allow that water to soak in. That also helps if you have salt trucks when chloride intrusion. Your salt trucks come along, the snow melts, you got all that salt brine. If water repellent's on there, it's not going to allow it to soak in. It's going to dry on the surface, and then rain comes along, or they clean the streets, and it comes off. Substrates. So, like I said earlier, bricks, mortars, concrete blocks, CMUs, any natural stone, stuccos. It can be applied vertically or horizontally. Remember, if you're doing it vertically, always start from the bottom. If you start from the top, you can get runs that will run down the surface. You cover those with your normal spray, and as soon as it rains, you're going to see every run that you just put in there. It's kind of finicky that way. Now you got me nervous. Anyways, so selection considerations. What kind of substrate are you working on? Why is it advancing? There we go. Substrates, what are you working with? How old is it? Is it going to be super dry, super porous? You get a lot of moisture. Is the texture, is it smooth troweled or is it broom finished? If it's broom finished, you may want to use a siloxane because it's going to be a little bit more porous. It's going to take a lot more material, especially if you use a SILANE. You're going to probably have to do 2 coats or maybe even 3 on some. What kind of condition is it in? Does there need to be any repairs done? If so, do the repairs first. The picture of the Harlem River Bridge right there, they used J29A or 100% SILANE on it. And then a while later, they had to come back and do some repairs, called us up, said, hey, we can't get anything to bond. Asked them what they used or if they knew if there was anything on it. And they said, yeah, there's J29A on there. It's like, well, it's a water repellent, so you're not going to be able to get a good scrub coat or an SSD surface. And that's what's preventing your bond from your repair material. So in that situation, they may have to mill it down or scrub it down to get that surface knocked off of there. And then you can SSD it or do a scrub coat and apply your patch. What kind of project is it? An infrastructure, DOT or Army Corps of Engineers job. Army Corps loves the 100% SILANEs. That's usually what they spec. If it's a DOT project, is it on the qualified products list that the DOT of that state maintains? If not, give us a call. There's a chance we could just send them some material, get it tested, and get it on there. Commercial projects. A lot of commercial projects today are looking for LEED credits. We don't have any products right now that are CDPH or the California Department of Public Health certified for air quality. But that, I mean, we have several that can still generate LEED credits because their VOC limits are acceptable. Or is it residential? You put it on somebody's driveway or in their garage to kind of help with wintertime pull into a garage. You know, you got salt and water dripping off. It doesn't do a lot for oil stains or stuff like, or staining, but it will help if you can get it cleaned up in time. You don't want to let it sit there for a month and then expect it to be able to wipe up easily. Are there any specific specifications that it has to meet? VOC regulations. There are several VOC regions across the country. California has two. I know they have a Southern California air quality, and then Northern California has CARB, and then you've got your Great Lakes regions and your Northeast. Colorado has their own. There are several states or counties in Utah that have different ones. Same with Virginia. So you got to know what they're expecting and what to expect. Now we're into our products. Those are our SILANE's Weather Worker 100% J29A. It's a 100% SILANE solution. It's approved on state DOTs, especially those in the VOC restricted areas. It can be applied down to 32 degrees, cast in place, precast concrete, no problem there. Next one, another SILANE, Weather Worker 40% J29A. It has a solvent carrier in it. It is spec'd on a lot of DOTs across the country, but it cannot be used in VOC restricted areas. The VOCs on are just too high for those areas. It can also be applied all the way down to 32 degrees. Helps against de-icing salts and spalling caused by freeze thaw. And here's our siloxane, Weather Worker 10% J26 WB. It's a 10% water-based or 10% siloxane in a water-based carrier. Doesn't have much of an odor. This is the one you want if you want that beading effect. You want that water to really sit up on an edge and roll off. It's excellent for any natural stones, bricks, broom finish concrete, CMU block. It's really well on CMU block. You can put SILANE on a CMU block because it is cementitious, but you're going to put a lot on. It will basically soak all the way through, and you'll just have to keep putting it on and putting it on and putting it on. Don't go through that. Use a siloxane. Usually one coat does the trick. It's also VOC compliant in all areas of the country and Canada. And so, in summary, water repellents, they're penetrating. They don't sit on the surface. They don't leave a film to get scratched or marred or delaminate. They don't change the look of the concrete. Some SILANEs can darken a little bit, but that usually goes away once they dry out. Two basic types that I went over, SILANEs and siloxanes. There are other ones out there, and there are blends. We don't carry any of the blends, but they do work pretty well. SILANEs, they need to react without alkalinity in concrete. You don't want to put those on stone or brick. If you spray them on a brick wall, it's going to react with the mortar and not the brick. They are the smaller of the molecular size. Siloxanes, they only need the carbon dioxide and moisture to react. Like I said, they're best on natural stone, brick, CMU block, porous concrete, old concrete, broom finish concrete. All right, resources. DaytonSuperior.com. You go to DaytonSuperior.com. There's a chemicals tab, or there is a search feature up at the top right-hand side of the website. If you just typed in J26WB, it would bring you up to this page. It has a technical data sheets called the landing page. It has technical data sheets, safety data sheets, downloads. The downloads is a nice feature because you can look up your VOC area and what products are recommended for those areas. They also have guides, and the technical data sheets has application rates and what materials and how to apply. There's also a guide to water repellents. If you don't know which one you want, open up the guide to water repellents. It's a pretty good breakdown, and pretty much this presentation could be in that. And then if you need any contact information, it's all there. Sales, technical services, customer service. Call us here in technical services if you have a question. We love to talk to people before you apply, rather than help you deal with the aftermath if something goes wrong when you apply it. We're here all day, 7:30 to 4:30 on Kansas City time, Central Time, and we talk to people all day long about all of our projects. We help if you need help specifying. There's also a spec assistance link in there on this landing page. But if you don't want to go through that, you can talk to us here in Tech Services, and we'd be more than happy to discuss that. And I believe that's it, and I'll hand it back off to Heidi.
Thank you, Nathan, and a big thank you for, your phone just dropping you like that. You did a great job, and everybody out there appreciates you calling back in and keeping us going. So yeah, just to reiterate, the DaytonSuperior.com has it all. We've got the training there on the bottom right. You see, if you want to know who to contact as far as customer service, technical service, or your sales organization, just click on those maps there or call the phone numbers direct and find out who to talk to. So while you guys are putting in any questions that you might have through the chat functionality, I just want to go over one more thing. If you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to contact Chuck and myself. You can request it at training@DaytonSuperior.com. That goes straight to Chuck and me, and we are happy to hear if you want anything to be presented for a Training Tuesday. We'll try to fit it in. We do try to organize them. Like obviously this is chemical month. Next month we're going to be doing bridge deck, so that's exciting. So yeah, just do that. If you want to do a customized training at your organization, Chuck is, just send us a note at training@DaytonSuperior.com as well. Chuck and I will get that, and we will be in contact with you. So are there any questions out there? Again, I think this is the third time, but I'll say it again. We record these and put them out there. I know a lot of people might not come to the Training Tuesdays because maybe the time's not quite right, but I hear a lot of people go out and listen to them. Please feel free to do that. We spoke while we were waiting on Nate to figure out what you might want to see: accessories, chemicals, forming, and we're going to get into those 202 levels soon. So stay tuned for that. And if there's no questions, big thank you to Nathan for presenting with us today. And join us next week when we finish up our chemical, and Matthew Carter will be joining us again. And thank you, Nathan, for your service. I am an Air Force brat, and I just want to tell you a big thank you for there. My dad, my brother, and my nephew are all in the Air Force. So thank you. And to everybody on the call, have a happy Tuesday. Bye-bye now.